Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We have Model Y Mike, Model 3 Randy, Cybertruck Nick, and Drew. How are you all today?
Aptera Drew, isn't it?
Aptera and Drew. There you go.
It rolls off the tongue better. Good morning, guys. Doing well. It's this is our I guess we'll say for both shows, but this is our new schedule where we'll be posting on a Saturday. So we're recording Friday.
If this worked out.
If this works out.
It did.
Otherwise, Nick will just cut this whole part and it'll just boop, 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 boop. Please stand by.
Hi guys, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
I like
I
this
wasn't
because
asking
we are
you, Drew.
able to we can
Mike,
talk
how
about
are you?
Elon in live time.
Mm-hmm.
What about him?
Oh, I'm just saying he tweets. We can actually have relevant tweets for the week.
So as of this morning, Elon posted a few memes that I was the meme laugh through the nose on. There's the Dogecoin one with the computer.
Nose exhale.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also the Skype install one, which I thought was probably the best of the morning. So good on you, Elon. Memes are tight this morning.
Well, I was
And
more
there was
excited.
also another bit of news.
Yeah, I was going to
Oh.
say I'm more excited about the vehicle production and deliveries Q2 report from Tesla.
No, the memes.
But
The
okay,
memes.
That's fine.
Memes.
We could just
Mike.
talk about memes then. That's fine.
Oh, well.
Drew shared on his EV handle the like we could expect this as a trend for every quarter, like record breakings, and yes, this is great news for all of us. Well, Nick, are you invested in anything?
Not Tesla-wise.
Okay, well, still, this is great news for all of us.
He has Doge. That's basically the
That's
same
basically the same thing. One of these
Free
is going well,
advertisement.
the other one is not.
It will hit $1 eventually. I think.
It will,
Maybe,
eventually.
I have no idea. It's a meme.
Diamond hands.
thing.
30
close
years.
before.
30 years. I'll
30
take
years
y'all out
for
to
everything.
dinner
Take 'em out.
whenever it hits $1. So
Oh, thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
That would be great.
This record-breaking, whenever record-breaking sales is always warms my fuzzies in a way that just make me go, yeah. Tesla is the GOAT still.
What I find
Says
interesting
a
is
lot
that
about how...
they still
ahead.
reported Model S and X together, even though that they haven't delivered any X's. So we can
I
assume...
thought that was funny.
Yeah, we can only assume that it's only S's in this production and delivery number that they give, in which they delivered 1,890 Model S's, which isn't bad.
No.
That's a lot, yeah.
Even though that one of them caught on fire.
Apparently.
but one.
Just one. So,
Right.
So
I guess delivered 1,890. Those on the road, 1,889. So
you have a 1,889 chance of dying in a Model S.
it's actually
We're not hurt.
I did the calculation. It's a 20% that you would die in a Model S as of right now with the numbers that we have. So if you bought a Model S,
I wonder what it is for my car. Probably like 20%.
If you found out the truth, Drew, you would not want to get in that car again.
People are like, oh, this is dangerous. There's no radar anymore. I'm like, just get in my car. There's no cameras or radar.
There's no.
There's
You are
There's
the
nothing.
cameras.
I don't even know
There's
if the
barely a
airbags will
driver.
deploy. There's barely a driver.
On the drive home from Mike's place, I caught a few winks,
That's
I was
good.
tired.
You just get your co-pilot to help you drive.
Right. Louise just grabs the wheel. But we got to take Louise's dad in the Model Y.
How did that go?
What did you think of his reaction, Mike?
He had all the questions.
Crikey, this is something else.
He was very worried about the range. On the way back, he's like, well, maybe we should go and charge. It might be a good idea. Or
That's
no,
funny.
maybe that's Louise.
I think he
Either or,
wanted to
both
go
of
to a
them.
supercharger.
He was worried about the AC.
He was
Well,
worried
that's
about
what
the
it
Cybertruck.
I'm worried about the Cybertruck. I don't know about Luke's guy.
He was like, Mike was asking him, like, are you cool back there? Are you comfortable? And he was like, well, I don't want the range to go down too much. Like, don't worry about the range. We're fine. We weren't even low. I think we were at like,
That's the
We were
was
going to
it?
get
That's
home with
funny.
like at least almost 100 miles of range left, which is a third
Oh, wow.
of what my car can do in total. So
Yeah, you don't worry
we
about
were not that far. And he was very concerned that the AC would kill the range.
Well,
But
your Model Y does have a heat pump, so maybe in older cars you didn't have that opportunity.
he
Yeah,
has
maybe.
a bit of a dark humor to him. He likes
Yes.
being very pessimistic and morbid about a lot of things. Like we were just talking about old musicians recently, and every time we listed one, he'd just be like, "Oh, he's dead." Just drop that. So on the drive home, he said a lot more nice things about the Model Y than when he was in the Model Y, which I thought was funny.
It's good to know.
But yeah, he was
seemed to enjoy
impressed. He enjoyed it. That was his first time, so I'm glad we got to witness it for him.
Do you think this is actually a question for both? Well, no, Drew, you've experienced. So, Mike, more you, I would say. Do you think this is more of a exposure of seeing how people on the outside who are not
You don't
familiar
have
with this
center
stuff-
stage anymore, Drew.
Say that again,
No, he's
Randy.
just tired. He wants to go to bed. Do you think this is this a proper? Maybe exposure is not the word, but is this the way Luis's dad reacted? Seems to be a common like misunderstanding for someone not within our generation who's still very there's a level of hesitancy about all this stuff. Would you say his experience driving with you from the start of it and to the end of it, when it shifted and stuff like that, do you think that's a good I'm forgetting the word. It's like when you do R&D, but it's not R&D. Do you think his reaction is a good example of what a lot of people who are not in the know, like us four, are? Do you think that it's a proper analysis?
Is it a great sample, or at least a sample size of what's going on?
Like a sample. Would you say that's good? Because now here, I would assume you've given people in your immediate circle rides who would have not known otherwise, and now you're having people outside of that also experience this. What would you agree with that? Thinking that like, oh, this is changing people's minds once they get in it, or minds aren't getting changed, or it's better, or it's worse? What do you think of that, having an outsider's perspective now experiencing it?
I probably don't want to date you in terms of age, Randy, but I think it's more of the older audience that I've found that's a little bit more worried about range. I don't know whether it's because they just
How dare
know,
you, Mike?
I don't know whether it's because they know how electric cars were in the
Yeah.
early days, and so they've got that fear still, or not. But at least my generation, with a lot of my friends that I've taken on rides, they don't really care necessarily. I say 300 miles, and they say, that's enough for me to go to the beach and back. That's good. Or that's enough for me to go to Tahoe, with maybe charging once if need be, but otherwise not really.
Yeah.
So they're not, at least my generation's not too worried. But that's kind of the generation that Tesla needs to cater to, but also they need to cater to the rest of the population. And so they need
you're
to...
saying people they're not focusing on older generation because they'll be dead soon. Doesn't matter.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying
That's
is
what I'm
that
picking
Tesla
up.
needs to find a way to still kind of stomp out this range anxiety issue of, will I have enough to get to point B without having to charge 5 times?
What else do you think Tesla could do, though? Like, honestly, I think they have the best charging network in the world. They have the longest range for the most respectable price. Drew seems to have something, or he's sign languaging.
4680.
Okay, fine.
That's what they can do.
Okay, fine. But, like, at some
wasn't
point,
sign
though,
language either.
you got to just say society is, like, stuck in the mud on, like, what they think EV is. Everyone still thinks, okay, not everyone, but a good number of people still think that all EVs are Nissan Leafs a la 2014 with 110 miles of range, and if you charge it in the cold, the battery blows up. So, like...
It just blows up.
That's a good one.
Samsung Note 7. But it's like, at some point, though,
I had this cousin.
these people are... I don't know what to do with them, right? Like, it's almost like a media problem and a publicity problem instead of like a Tesla making products problem, because I feel like they've been killing it for years, but they've been killing it at a rate that is disproportionate to the number of people who still think EVs are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the solution
I
is.
think the advent of the EV trucks is definitely going to help with this range
Okay.
anxiety, because trucks are known not to be that efficient in terms of range in a lot of cases, whether it's towing something or having a large payload. But with stuff like the F-150 Lightning, with Ford saying it's going to get at least 300 miles of range with max payload, that's a pretty good metric for many. And even if they want to say that the F-150 is better than the Cybertruck, who cares? It's still an EV that is going to be stomping this trend, or not trend, but at least this assumption that EVs cannot go that far without turning off the air conditioning and only driving 50 miles per hour on the highway and all that. So I think, yeah, the electric trucks are definitely going to help with this, not really issue, more of just worry that, I don't want to say society has, but a greater percentage of those who have not adopted electric vehicles yet currently have. So, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe also Elon's, or at least Tesla's, mindset of getting butts in seats is a great idea. Is getting people in these cars, showing them the performance, showing them the range, definitely squashes a lot of speculation. I know that, or it seemed like, with Drew's father-in-law, he seemed a little bit more, I don't know, maybe a little bit more positive with the vehicle when he got to sit in it and figured out that, oh, we can have the air conditioning running, it's not an issue. What didn't help is I didn't charge it the day before to go up to SFO to pick him up, and so we had to charge on the way back, which maybe worried him a little bit, but I don't know. Seeing kind of how I think we went to a grocery store or something like that when the car was charging, and we got back and we had a lot of range, maybe made him a little bit happier with how short of a time it took to charge it up. So I think just more of getting people experienced with these vehicles or more familiar with them will actually help a whole lot more, because, I don't know, I think at this point people are just seeing how EV technology is either it's short range or you put it in an internal combustion engine vehicle and you get 23 miles of range, like in a Chevy Volt or something like that. So that seems more of, I don't know, not really a stigma, but a mindset that definitely needs to be squashed.
It's hard for people to find that. They're comparing something to something else, and that's I think we need to help break that comparison, because it's not the same as gas. People who start getting below a certain point on their gas gauge, the light comes on, and now you have been I forget that law, like, you ring the bell and the dog starts to drool.
Pavlov's dog.
You've been conditioned to see a light come on, and all of a sudden we need to get gas. We need to get gas. And likewise, because we don't have such a thing like that, people see that and like, well, wait, when is it going to tell you that you need to charge? It's like, oh, if we don't make it there, it's going to say you need to reroute, you need to drive slower. It gives you all these,
it's almost like they don't understand that a car can be very intelligent, right? Like a gas car will let you drive wherever and leave you in the middle of the desert with no gas, right? But a Tesla is going to say, hey, all right, where are you going? I need to tell it where you're going. And it's like, all right, well, you need to stop at this charger and charge till this amount. By the way, there are this many cars in the stalls right now, predicted to have this many available when you get there. Oh, yeah, and by the way, in this stent here, it is going to be a little bit of a stretch, so keep it under 60 or whatever. And it's like, it's very intelligent, and it does its best not to leave you in the desert alone waiting for a 9-volt battery. But, yeah, I feel like you're right with the...
Yeah, it's the only point of reference that they had.
Yeah.
Or they've so I don't fault them for having that. In a very similar mindset, I had the same sentiment initially when S's started really being popping around in San Diego. I was like, I don't understand this. Wouldn't people? Because back then it was like the range was like 150. Or maybe not that bad, but it was
230.
bad. Yeah, it was bad. I'm like, I don't know. Why would you guys do that? And it wasn't until we did our first test drive years ago where I was like, oh, okay. Immediately, I remember having
that was a fun day.
That was probably one of the best days I've had in a long time.
From that day forward, I came back. I sent you guys screenshot like, I'm doing this. This is now, like, I was working towards getting a new car. I was saving up, and back then I was like, I'm gonna get like a Tacoma or something. So we had money. We started saving to get a new vehicle. But after doing that trip, my mind changed forever. And I feel like a lot of people I've introduced to in my family and outside of my family to the car and let them see it had the same moment. And I feel like as soon as people understand, maybe more people are more visual learners than like, oh, just reading on a piece of paper, this makes sense. They have to actually, like, you know, we in our community, we're reluctant about things on paper when it comes to tech. We're like, okay, yeah, things specs, and we mock specs.
Right, Elon, 2 more weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mock all these things that we see. So I also get that too, but seeing it in person, it changes people's minds. And that, I think that holds more power than anything else in regards to what Tesla has shown to be doing right. And I think it's cool. Anyway, I'm glad her dad liked the ride. Then it seems, yeah, at the end of it, he had nothing but nice things to say. Then it seems like we had another happy experience.
Happy ending.
I hope so.
Did you have any
He's more of
concerns that he
an
voiced?
older car guy for sure, because he has Mercedes and a BMW from like the 70s and one from the late 60s.
So him and Craig Federighi would get along great.
Well, they're not as nice as Craig's, but the first day I met him, I got in that car, and when I closed the door, the wood paneling fell off. That was my first introduction to my potential. He wasn't my father-in-law at the time, but my future father-in-law. But it was just a funny story. But yeah, I think the mass adoption is going to help more than anything, and Tesla knows that, because advertising and marketing is pointless when they're supply constrained, not demand constrained. So basically, yeah, I think there's a ton of people that still are not convinced and are still hesitant to ever buy one or make the switch to electric. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, because Tesla still can't make enough. Even with over 200,000 vehicles, they're pretty much selling every one they can. The estimated deliveries on all these vehicles is way back ordered. The prices inch their way higher because suppliers are still expensive, and so yeah, it's Tesla, I think, is very smart, and they've got their eyes on the right problem instead of focusing on something that doesn't really matter. It may seem like it matters, but ultimately I think they understand, like, if we can just get more vehicles out there and get them cheaper, then our customers will do the convincing for us.
Yeah.
We don't need to do it.
Isn't it the same reason why they don't do ads? Because we're their ads.
That's us. That's
us.
why we're here.
It's a
This is
win-win.
all just
It's a
an ad.
symbiotic relationship. We get paid to do this stuff, and they get advertisement. It's a very new wave of doing things, and I'm about it. It's cool. I like it.
It's smart.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, are we worried about the Cybertruck still?
You know, Nick, I did, thinking about our discussion last week on the Aptera, or the week before, I did some digging on the dimensions of the Aptera.
Ooh, okay.
And it's a big vehicle. For reference, its length is 172 inches, its width is 88 inches, and its height is 57 inches.
Okay.
This is a weird comparison, but comparing this to a Cybertruck, the dimensions aren't too far off necessarily.
Really? Wow.
Which is pretty hilarious. I was thinking about it earlier this morning. I'm like, why would anyone get a Cybertruck if they've never driven a truck before and they want just a cool EV? Why not just get an Aptera? But then I looked at the dimensions of the Aptera. I'm like, maybe they should just
It's
get a
wide.
Model 3. Yeah,
It's very wide.
the difference in length between the Aptera and the Cybertruck is, maybe that's the biggest difference. It's about 60 inches. And that makes sense because it's a truck. It's got to carry more in the back. But its width is the only difference between the width of the Aptera and the Cybertruck is 8 inches. It's not too far off.
8
That's
inches?
crazy.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
they're almost the same width. And then their height, of course, another big one, is about 18-inch difference.
And the Aptera is wider, isn't it?
Yeah, the Aptera is wider. So it's wider,
crazy.
but it's shorter in length and shorter in height.
Well, the height doesn't shock me.
The
but-
most important variable, it's not a variable, but the most important size that I would care about anything is cabin space. That's the most important thing to me, because that's where I reside. I'm not going to be outside the car. Well, I will, always. Like, hey, look, that's nice. But operating, feeling comfortable, not feeling claustrophobic is a very important to me and a lot of people. And do the dimensions equate to that as well for the inside cabin space as well?
I think
Probably
the
not.
early alpha prototypes are a little bit squishy, I think is
Okay.
what people have said. What Aptera has responded with is they're still trying to optimize how much space you've got in the cabin. So they're making it a little bit roomier above your head so you don't feel
Nice.
too squished. I don't know if Nick can fit in there.
Probably
But
not.
um, I think-
I've also done a little bit of looking on the measurements of the Aptera. It looks like it's basically a Model 3 cabin, but with the extended wheels the size of the width of the Cybertruck, basically,
And no back seats.
and no back seats.
Right.
Yeah,
Because the
so it's
Aptera's
big.
prioritizing efficiency above all.
yeah, which I can get
That
on
makes
board
sense.
with.
For a first one to do, I support, and that makes sense. I would say comfort wise though, the dimensions of what you have inside the Model Y is probably the most comfortable I've ever been in
Okay.
Mm.
out of all vehicles. X is okay. I mean, I'm indifferent. I don't have really. I'm indifferent about the X. I don't have anything to compare with the X, but the Model Y is such a relaxed experience because you do not at any point feel boxed in inside the vehicle, and that's cool. If that whatever happens on the outside, if they said, hey, Model Y is still gonna have the same cabin space, but it's gonna get actually a little bit bigger, and as this crossover style, I would be, oh yeah, that makes sense. But the fact that it's not that much different from a Model 3, it's bulkier, but it's overall not that much different. And to have such a drastic change just with the headspace alone sitting inside it is is phenomenal. It's really cool. It feels like you're just walking into it. For me, like I'm a shorter guy, so when you let me sit in the driver's seat, I walked right into it. I was like, whoa, whoa, this is cool. It's so awesome.
You didn't fall. You don't have to fall into it like a 3.
Yeah.
And especially when you're sitting 5 people in the 3, that's when Nick and I can attest to how crowded it gets. And Louise's head was bonking on the center column in the back when all 3 of us was there, whereas in the Model Y, that column's so high your head can fit under it, and probably you would feel boxed in if you were in the 3rd row, because that's still a thing. But
Why? No way. Should not be.
some people do it. I don't. I'm
Because
not
they
a
don't
child,
understand.
so I don't get it.
They need to see it with their own eyes. I honestly feel if people would see it with their own eyes, they would, the very least, hesitate. They would just be like, yeah, makes sense. Gotta have it.
For kids, I'll give it to them, but make sure you have very young kids if you're opting for the 7-seater. Give yourself plenty of years to make use of that backseat option, or if you're just a shorter family in general,
Hey,
that could
Hey.
help.
hey.
Nothing
Hey.
wrong there.
I was showing that video to my in-laws when they were here a couple weeks back, and they didn't know that I was on a YouTube video with some YouTuber or whatever. And they're like, "Wait, you've been in this 7-seater Y?" I'm like, "Yeah, here, look." And they look, and they're like, "You look cramped." I'm like, "Yes." It was very
Astute.
uncomfortable.
Astute observation there, family.
Astute. That's what I've been trying to tell you, people.
Yeah.
I just can't believe they originally said it could sit 7 adults. That was a mistake from
Yeah.
the beginning. It always should have been people. They've changed it since then to people, but it always should. I don't know when they thought that was going to sit 7 adults at some point.
Little people, maybe, but
I'd like to see Randy sit in the... And Nick.
Yeah, just Randy and
I think
Nick
that'd be a
in
fascinating
the back
video.
of a Model Y. Yes, that'd be so much fun.
I would do it. Yeah, I give it a go.
I'll probably have to sit fetal position on the 2 seats, so I'm not sure where we'll put Randy, but
Nick
We'll
would
figure-
have to put his head between his knees, I think.
okay.
You'd have to sit in.
I'll,
Yeah,
I'll,
we
I'll
practicing
start. I'll
for
start
a
stretching
hurricane.
here. We'll get ready to go.
It's the equivalent of just getting in the back of a trunk.
When you guys were closing the hatchback at the afterwards, and the nervousness of like, oh, this is gonna hit my head, like that. That's a thing. That's where I was like, yeah, that's probably not gonna work. At all. Just in general, like you're like when you pop open the hatch and now you feel like, oh, okay, sitting back here is not that bad. But the moment's like, "Ee," like, wait.
Well, it's pretty rare design. I can't think of that many crossovers or SUVs where the third row's heads go above the hatch opening.
That's weird.
I don't see that very often. I'm pretty sure most SUVs and crossovers, the hatch would be behind the third row. At least that's what it is with most Highlanders or that type of thing. So the
Sure.
Model Y, they very clever use of space. That's an engineering's approach to a 7-seater. Oh, yeah, it'll fit. They'll fit. Don't worry about it. They'll make it.
Do you guys think that Tesla will make a nice 7-seater in the future? I know that like the Rivian,
The X.
Well, the X, it's a bit more roomier than the Y's 7-seater, but something a little bit more akin to like an R1S or a Project Gravity.
Project Gravity.
Honestly, like I would like to see that. I don't think they will. Not for a long time. I think they will. They will move on to other. I don't know. Not gimmicky. I don't want to say gimmicky, but like they would focus on like RVs or something. You know, something
Van
unique,
life.
where it's like van life, solar panels to the vehicle, but here's a luxury camping experience that you can do now, and we also have our stove that you can pull out for. You know, I could see them doing something else. You know, I don't know. I don't know if that will be their main focus, and I hesitate because I feel like they're not trying to really focus or refine like the X right now. And if that's the case, and that's their closest kin to it, of getting something where it's a comfortable 7-seater, it's not high on their priority list. It's not where the money's at for them, I guess, and they'd rather just keep making the production line work for what they have and try a new thing later and tell us it's 2 weeks away and we'll see it in 2027.
2027. I think the closest we have to that is likely the van, which Elon has said is happening. It's just not on the priority sheet right now. And also when there was some CNBC journalist interviewing the Boring Company officials, and they confirmed that Tesla was working on a 12-passenger vehicle of some kind. And I think it would be weird if Tesla made a vehicle specifically for Boring Company tunnels and that's all they were good at and they couldn't use them for anything else. It makes more sense to me that whatever their van is that could be used as a service vehicle, that could also just be used as maintenance for other companies like a plumber's vehicle or something like that. When they want to enter that market, they'd probably have something close to the Ford E-Transit that could sit easily 7 plus, maybe 9 or 12 people with all the rows and stuff, and it may not be super fancy or showy, but very functional and just small enough so that it could fit in the Boring Company tunnel, but big enough to optimize passenger space. And probably for that market, you don't need super high range because a lot of it is stop and go, you know, delivery van type market. Doesn't have to go super fast or super far. So I feel like that would almost happen before something like a cyber SUV, which I really want to happen because I like the efficiency of Rivian doing the R1T and then just kind of slightly modifying it for the R1S so that you can have a full 7 adult seating option that's good at off-roading and that kind of thing. And I think it'd be very simple for them to just modify the Cybertruck a little bit to have a third row and technically go up to 9 people or something like that, but you just don't have very much of a bed. But my prediction is that Cybertruck demand is going to be so through the roof that they're not going to want to tinker with the production line for Cybertruck. It's just going to be full steam ahead, trying to reach as much orders as they can fill for probably the first couple of years that they're building them. They're just going to have so many orders that they're like, no, we don't have the battery capacity or the time to retrofit a different Cybertruck assembly line just for the SUV. But the van is something that I could at least see Elon alluding to, saying like, yeah, we're going to make that. Boring Company needs higher passenger vehicles, and Tesla probably wants to stop using gas-powered Ford vans for their mobile service team.
There's a lot of needs for
That's
Tesla. There's the fact that there's 2 competing companies, which, again, we're comparing Ford and Rivian. They both have these electric vans that they're going to be making. One going straight to Amazon, the other one for I guess, commercial use.
Right.
But then also Tesla needs it for the Boring Company, and so they need that as well, and their own mobile service, because, like you said, doesn't really scream accelerating the world to sustainable energy when a Ford Transit van with a Tesla logo is pulling up to you on the side of the road to replace your tire or tow you somewhere.
That is
or something
weird.
like that.
Yep.
So there's definitely a push for the van, and could
Sure.
they make it into a product for the masses? Maybe. I think it might be smarter just to kind of go the Rivian and possibly Ford route. It's just kind of focus on what their needs are, kind of like what they're doing with the Semi, right?
Mhm.
Try not to sell it really to people. Sell it to those that really need it first, starting with Tesla. Tesla needs it to deliver goods and cars, and then expand out to like Walmart and Target and move on from
Mhm.
there. So, yeah.
I think the Boring Company use of it first would be a really great way to let people know that it's out and it exists, but not have to mass produce a bunch of them. Because I feel like Tesla's hesitant to launch the Semi because they want to wait until they can deliver them by like the 1,000, and they don't want to deliver just a few hundred. But if they just built like 60 vans for the Boring Company, it wouldn't take much. You could just grab a few cells from Cato Road real quick and be like, okay, we're just going to do 60, and these are like the initial prototypes, and they're all maintained by in-house employees through Boring Company. They're just going to be driving people around, so anybody who takes that shuttle gets to experience them and sit in them and take videos. Hey, I'm in the Tesla van, this is so cool. And people can see them rolling around, but Tesla doesn't have to mass produce a bunch, and yet lots of people can experience them for cheap. It doesn't have to be a delivery event or anything. It's just, that's what they use. So I think it'd be smart to use them yourself first. That way you kind of work out the kinks, figure out what you want to fix before you actually start rolling them out to people. And that's not really something they've done before, but I think it'd be interesting to just do a vehicle for your own needs first, but not actually sell it for at least a few months or a few quarters, maybe a year, but until mass production is done. I don't know where you'd build those exactly, but there's a lot of use cases for them that I think is in pretty low volume. Boring Company doesn't need a ton. The service fleet probably doesn't need a ton, just enough so that it gets the message across that, electric's the future, and we're all about electric vehicles, and here's our own vehicles helping our other electric vehicles, instead of having to buy Ford vehicles and having Tesla employees at gas stations. It's got to be awkward.
You also have to. Wait, you said that like you don't know where that has been done before in regards to like to meet your own needs first and then start selling them. Even when they're ready and they can sell them to everybody else, they won't have the same, by design, they won't have the same like launch or excitement or whatever that like a Model Y or 3 or S or whatever has, because most people will not be buying it. Companies will buy it. This is an enterprise industry, and they will
Sure.
Sell to those markets. I don't think that requires much PR, because PR is meant for consumers like us, not for enterprises. They have their own little network and lingo and backdoor meetings and lobbyists and all this, that, and the other. So nothing. I don't think anything will be too exciting when it comes to when the Semi or anything enterprise-wise launches. Except, hey, we're moving the needle forward, and that's a good thing. But they could start selling it at the same time they finish it for themselves, and maybe not have quality control issues like they would have had in the past, because it would be such a limited supply anyway. Walmart, though, like Walmart and Amazon, it's something like Target, but like Walmart and Amazon for sure would be maybe your most biggest customers. If you're selling for doing crates and stuff like that, those guys are traveling
Pepsi.
everywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Frito-Lay would be good because
Yes.
their payloads would be extremely light. They just move around a lot of
They have
air.
3 chips in the back
Bags.
of their entire semi-trucks.
80% air.
The Tesla Semi would lose like no range whether the trailer was hooked up or not, because it's just nothing but air in the back.
In fact, if they just get the Frito-Lay to people to start filling the bags instead of just with air, but with helium, then you could, negate the fact. You could have the flying Tesla semi.
That's not
There you go.
You actually get more range. Yeah, it goes up.
The containers
Do you
are a
think
lot
that
heavier.
I'm staring at it right now? Do you think the Tesla Semi is still going to launch by the end of this year? Now that we're in the second half of 2021.
Ooh.
I'm going to be wild and say no.
Ooh, how wild!
How wild.
Nick is so wild.
I'm gonna be rebellious and cause friction and say yes.
Yay!
I'll
That would
split
be
it
great.
down
Even
the middle
if they
then.
delivered 10.
And I'll say Tesla gets all of them, and it's like 5 or 10. And
That's
that's
a
it.
reasonable assumption, I'd say.
Now,
that
what do
they'd
you say,
use-
Drew?
I think I'd side with Mike. We
Ooh.
might not see customer deliveries of the Semi, but semis being used regularly that aren't prototypes. We've seen semis used at end of quarter push deliveries and stuff where they just bring it
Yeah.
out once in a while, but it's not a regular thing. I think there's a chance by the end of the year there will be several of those white semis with the updated windshield and the updated door handles being used to transport stuff from Giga Nevada to Fremont like every day. And people will start tweeting about like just, hey, if you drive on this route at this time, you'll see the Semi. And it's just become a workhorse and they're using it for their own purposes. I hope that's the case because by this time last year, Tesla had already said that deliveries were delayed until 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're halfway through the year and Tesla's, at least on their earnings reports, are still expecting first semis to deliver by the end of the year. So it's not repeating itself. They seem to be confident that at least a couple will be done this year. But I don't know. You were talking about how that's for, the vans for enterprise and not average consumers. But at the same time, I think about the semi delivery event, not delivery event, but unveiling, and how like everyday people were showing up to that thing just like YouTubers. In hindsight, we knew the Roadster was there. It makes a lot more sense. But going into it, people didn't know that. And they were just like, I'm going to go to a semi event.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, okay. I mean, it's Tesla, so interesting enough. And I bet you could have a similar response with a van unveiling. Not everyday people are going to buy that. But Nick would. But Nick's not an everyday person.
Oh, thanks.
No, he's not. Very
I think
special.
van lifers, you could probably argue there's more reason for a van event than a semi event.
100%.
Just for the people who plan on living in them. And you know how big Tesla is on YouTube and how big van life is on YouTube. That's a perfect recipe for YouTuber career right there. Casey Neistat would probably live in one for a week or something. But
Beautiful week.
I think it's my same philosophy towards Apple events. Anything that involves a new design, I think, justifies an unveil event. I didn't personally think we needed the Plaid delivery event because I think Randy mentioned that week that it was an update. It wasn't a new model. It was we've had the Model S, and this is a better Model S, but it's still an update. And that to me didn't justify having a whole event over, but I think it was more about the in-person side of things. They probably just wanted people to experience the tri-motor acceleration, and they were like, well, if we're going to have an event, we better live stream it, because then people would be confused if we didn't live stream. It's like, it felt like they had to broadcast it, but for the most part, it was for the people that were there.
Yeah.
And the people who watched it from afar were kind of like, okay, what's the point? We knew all this. These are all numbers we were already aware of. So anytime you have a new design, I think it justifies, getting some people together and letting people know you have something to show off. But if it's just an update, yeah, I don't. If they found some way to, for a good example would be the 4680 Model Y coming out of Texas. Like, that's exciting, and I'm super interested to see how they do that, or when they're going to start taking orders for that model. How does that work? Or will people who start ordering a performance Model Y in the fourth quarter, will they not know they're pre-ordering a Texas-made Model Y? Will it just say performance, and then it turns out, actually, you get a way better car?
Or sucks to
I don't
you.
think, yeah, I don't think they need an event for that. or at least a broadcasted one. I don't think they live streamed anything for the Giga Shanghai launch.
For the Model 3, they did.
Was it from Tesla though?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember it being on their channel.
I mean, they had a very... Well, okay. Yeah, maybe not channel, but at least I do remember some type of live stream where they're delivering the first batch of Model 3s made in Giga Shanghai. Though that was special because those were the first ever made vehicles in that
China.
factory.
Yeah.
For the Y, I'm not too sure. So I would agree with you, Drew, that...
I remember Elon dancing and taking his jacket off.
Yes.
That event.
That was a good one.
That was the highlight.
That was the highlight right there. Was that part.
If he would have done that at the Plaid event, it would have been far more interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing it.
Oh well. It's such like showing off the dad bod, just the jacket comes off, and then they showed that clip every time Tesla stock went up on the news. They were like, Tesla stock rises 5%. He's like,
Every time it goes down, you have Franz throwing a ball or hitting the Cybertruck.
Oh my God!
could it be a running gag that Franz just has a sledgehammer at every event,
It might be at this point.
even if it's not a Cybertruck event?
100%, I would own it, so that way you take the fear away from it.
Like the second gen Model Y deliveries, he just comes out with a sledgehammer. Like, I'm not going to hit this, but
I could.
You know,
Whole
it's a great
Sandy
car.
Monroe status.
No, just like they have T-shirt cannons, they should have sledgehammer cannons or steel ball cannons.
Terrible idea, Nick.
No. Hear
Just
me
throw
out.
sledgehammers
Hear
in
me
the
out.
audience.
But give every audience member a piece of Tesla armor glass to hold above their head.
Oh,
that'd be
no.
I'm all for them handing out armored glass,
But it
just so
won't go
people
through.
could experiment with it.
No.
That's fine.
Mike's just like,
This is a
no.
PR
be-
disaster.
People be acting like that still wasn't a miracle that throwing a steel ball like that didn't go through.
Full wind up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
overarm, like
Yeah.
a baseball.
It was-
People gonna
it was a
act
good-
like,
it was a good
ooh. It's like, dude, if that was done on your '97 Civic, it would have gone through every.
There's nothing wrong with
win-
my '97 Civic, Randy. It's just not
Calm
bulletproof.
Down, like everyone's acting like, oh, I'm like, it stopped steel. Calm down.
And they did a perfectly good demo right before that one. Everyone forgets about the
Oh, with the sledgehammer? Just
the sheet of glass. No,
Oh, yeah.
the glass they had where they dropped the ball like 30 feet on it and didn't shatter. That
Yeah.
got overlooked because it worked too well, I guess. That's not as impressive. But I forget the Semi has that too. It's easy to forget. And that's all rounded off too, so that's probably a bit more complicated of a manufacturing process. But
I wonder if that's the big
Either
holdup
way.
on the Tesla Semi and the Cybertruck is just the glass. Everything else is ready to go. They have the entire factories built out. They have all the battery cells waiting.
A little thing called
would
battery.
you take that? Would you take that risk, or is that a deal breaker?
I don't know. I feel like if I parked my Cybertruck in a public place and left it unattended, randos would be throwing steel balls at the windows just because. And so I'd want the Tesla armor glass just to have it bounce off and then be like,
I think my biggest
Are you saying
annoyance
would you want
after
to take that risk? Take that risk about what? What do you mean?
Would you be willing to accept delivery of a Cybertruck if they told you they couldn't get armored glass to work? It doesn't have it.
That's not why people are buying Cybertruck.
I don't know.
Okay, fine then,
I
Randy.
think
Oh, I'm
some-
sorry. Are you shipping to the U.S. Defense Department? I mean, we're fine, guys. It's okay. We haven't had them up to this point. We don't need them now. What you? Oh, you think you're a politician that needs the extra? Calm down. No, that's fine. If the holdup is the glass, then F the glass. Let's
For
get
the record,
going.
it's not the glass that's the
How about
holdup.
you, Mike?
No, I know. I'm saying in this scenario, Nick.
Yeah,
I was going to say, this is coming from the guy who has a broken windshield right now.
That's why. That's why I'm very sensitive in defending it, because it's like glass is glass, guys. It's gonna break sometimes. Okay.
Glass. My only concern in that regard is the nightmare of just having my Y serviced for the tailgate. and then having to wheel a Cybertruck into a parking spot at a Tesla service center, which already is packed full of cars, packing that pickup into there, and then driving it into whatever service building that they have, which the one that I go to in Palo Alto is small. The ones in San Francisco are even tinier, which I don't know why you're going to be driving a Cybertruck in San Francisco, I guess. But anywhere else, the service centers
there's going to be a ton.
They're
Trust
small.
me.
And so just like maneuvering that around and making sure that you don't dent up the customer Cybertruck, though I guess it'd be the opposite. It's more the Cybertruck denting up everyone else's.
Other people's, yeah.
Yeah, but then like having a huge payload, or not payload, but huge locker full of giant glass sheets that aren't armor glass is a recipe for disaster as well if someone bumps into it, either with a vehicle or some cart or themselves, and just all these panels of glass break. So yeah. I don't know. I'd have to ask my wife in regards to whether she would be okay with that. I think she would, because we're already feeling safe with the Ram. So
She just wants her full wheel.
she just wants a big steering wheel that doesn't have any weird cuts into it. That
She
make
needs
it
like
look
one of
like
those
a
big
weird
semi-truck wheels that's like this big, and you just go like a big
pivoted downward.
bus wheel. Yeah, it's kind of like downward. Yeah.
She got so offended when when I complimented the yoke. It was funny. You showed me someone took delivery of a new Model S with the cream interior.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys see that? And he showed it to me, and I was like, "Whoa, that looks really good." And then Mike said something like, "Oh, so now you like cream? Like you didn't like it before?" And I was like, "Well, I just needed to see it with the yoke." And she was like, "The yoke sucks. We don't want the yoke."
We don't want.
You cannot say that in this house. You need to leave.
We do not say that. She was like, "Get out." Had to leave the room. But it did look good, I'll admit. Like, in person, it looked a lot better than the website pictures.
In
It's
person.
a sweet look.
Oh, you're talking about like IRL. Okay. I'm just like,
Yeah, the
did you see
IRL
this
photo.
too? You've seen the 21?
I guess not
Or
in person, but, you know. I still get excited whenever I see Cybertruck pictures of people in the wild, you know, people just at the museum or whatever. Those pictures, it makes it feel more real than the renders on the website and stuff. So,
definitely.
and then when I see it IRL, then it'll be
IRL
extremely
squared.
real.
That's like
IRL squared.
16
16 IRLs.
dimensions.
16 walls, yeah. Oh well.
Okay. I asked Brittany if she would if she would still want the Cybertruck if they didn't have the bulletproof glass, or if the, and she paused. She's like, they would have to alter the price.
Oh, it's
So they'd
$10
increase it.
cheaper.
No,
now.
they'd increase it. It's an extra $1,000.
She said alter.
Yeah, so
gotta
it's
ask
not,
my
it's not
wife now.
necessarily a deal breaker, but if it's going to come with something less than you promoted it with, and you're still going to charge me it, I'm not. Then now we
I'm
have
altering the deal. Pray I
Pray I
don't
do not
alter
do
it any further.
This deal's getting
Yeah.
worse by the minute.
Well, I can almost guarantee you the Cybertruck price will not be. Hold me to that one. I'll place a bet on that. The Cybertruck price will not be what its reservation listing is now.
Well,
It will more than likely be more than that by a couple grand at least.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna refute that because I don't know yet. I don't have a thought on that. Like the moment they say it's done, then we can let's revisit that conversation once. Like right now, the Cybertruck doesn't exist in my mind. It's a naked promise.
A naked promise.
Yeah.
The one who's seen it in person is like, it doesn't exist.
The one who saw a Cybertruck, the Cybertruck, not the Cybertruck. I saw
The only one.
the only one that there is. I saw that. That one is hot. That one's sexy. That one's cool. That one's not for sale. Does not count. The one that we normies are going to be offered to buy at some point, I believe that the moment we start going into like promo again about it. It's done. Here's this. Here's that. Now, once we have actual detail, not talking about price. Like once we start leading up to that right there, I will have an opinion about the price at that point, because the final product or the final version of it, depending on what changes from that, will depend on what I think the price will be. Because at this point, I have no reason to believe that that won't be the price, because there's nothing to indicate any progression about the thing yet. So it's like, oh, we would like to sell it. Like, well, I would like to have FSD. So until we have these things talking, well, let's talk about it when it's ready. So, but I guess bulletproof doors and shatterproof glass and all that, if that's taken off the table, if it becomes like aluminum or something like that, price has to change. Brittany already says she does not want the Cybertruck, or at least the Tri-Motor, if it's going to be aluminum. If that's a compromise, like, nope, don't want it. I don't care about it at that point. So there are some things where it's like we're having a different conversation at that point. But
imagine if you end up with a Ford F-150 Lightning, Randy.
Never. No, I'm not. I wouldn't say never. I just don't agree with the price. No.
Never. I wouldn't say never.
The circumstance, like, if I'm not, Ford won't get that money out of my pocket personally to buy something like that. I don't think it's a good spend of money. So I say never.
That's a good spin.
My own
bad spin.
My money, they won't see it come from my pocket. So if there was a different variant of that happening through like rebates, trade-ins, or something, I mean, I will never say no, maybe, but you won't get like flat out cash from me on a Lightning. That just never. That I can promise. That'll never happen.
Do you think we're gonna have an earnings call at the end of this month?
Yeah.
We just had our press release for the deliveries. Is this the one they give a Cybertruck update on, or are we all saying too soon?
Nope.
It's not coming.
I am not expecting it. I'm expecting to
When's
see
your guesses?
I'm expecting to see a Cybertruck in July at the shareholder meeting, quicker than we get an update on the new design of the Cybertruck. So, I don't know. Maybe September.
Wait, September?
Yeah.
Like a... You think it'll just be like a site refresh, or just like an Elon tweet? Both. Because I'm still under the anticipation that if there's a Cybertruck production update, they would wait for a earnings call. Just like that's how they unveiled the Model S and X refresh, was
And why?
through the...
With the rims.
Was it the what? Well, they had an event, I guess. Yeah.
They talked about the new rims and the... Was it January?
That's when they
or
updated
February?
the configurator and everything.
Yeah.
The Q1 or Q4 earnings call for 2019.
That's my bet. It's either going to be this earnings call, which I don't think is likely because we're still too far away from production, or the next one, which would be December? Or no, September.
The next
September.
one's the Q3
September's
earnings
the next
call,
one.
so it's around September.
Yeah, end of September.
So
I'm
September,
gonna-
October.
I'm gonna be a little out of left field here, but I think that we're not gonna get a specific update. We'll just start seeing prototypes rolling off the line, and people will be like, "Ooh, look, that one, his handles looks different," or "Ooh, that one, the bed looks a little bit longer," or "Oh wow, look, Tesla solar panels found, the rollable tonneau cover thing." I don't know. It's been so long since we've had an actual update that I think that we just need to wait to see what it actually looks like. Like if Elon gets up there on stage and says, "All right, here's what it's going to look like again," and then in 6 more months they change up other stuff, it would feel a little bit redundant and kind of not helping their public view. So SpaceX did this with the Starship prototypes, right? So way back in the day with the Dear Moon stuff, the BFR stuff, it was white, it was made out of carbon fiber, they it was totally different, and is even bigger and stuff, and then after a few years of working on that, they decided, okay, well, stainless steel's the way to go, whatever. And then Elon had his Mark 1 update, and they stood in front of this big Mark 1 prototype that was closer but not quite to what we got, and here we are. We're still making prototypes. So I would imagine that Tesla should just kind of stop hyping the Cybertruck. Like, the Cybertruck has enough hype already, that we know that as soon as they start selling them to customers, the hype's going to go back up to infinite. And so I think, if anything, adding extra pressure on the engineers to meet these design requirements, not allowing Tesla to work as Tesla does, which is very freeform. Hey, best parts, no part. If something's not working, change it. If they have all these, okay, it's going to have AC in the vault. It's going to have all of the retractable access from the cabin to the vault or whatever. Like if they start getting lost on those details, and as a Cybertruck fan, van lifer, I would love to see that. Like, love that. But it's more important to get the Cybertruck out, and it's more important to get humanity on a more sustainable path with the Cybertruck, the most amazing vehicle ever. And so I think if the engineers are kind of needlessly spinning their wheels on these other little features, Twitter features, I guess, that people have requested, it would be distracting from that goal. So it's almost just better that Tesla's just like, here's what the final version looks like. Or we start seeing leaks as we see in the Model Y front casting in Shanghai or whatever, those kinds of leaks. So I don't know.
Well, I think that's what we're suggesting. I wasn't suggesting an event or Elon
not
get
an
on
event,
stage or
but
anything.
just Elon talking about it for 5 minutes
in,
even would be more than what I'm talking about.
Well, I think what would be a good idea that wouldn't detract from the engineers or the mass production, because he did mention in the Q1 earnings call that the design is done. They're not tinkering it anymore.
Designers
They're
are
not
done.
adding.
It's all manufacturers. If any design's happening, it's the design of the manufacturing line and how they're going to actually manufacture things. So it's more of just figuring out the process.
Yeah, and so we know that they're done tinkering the design. Then just let people know what it's going to look like, or if there's any changes to the specs, because they were ping-ponging back and forth on the size for several months. They couldn't agree. 3% smaller. Actually, 3% is too much. It'll be full size. Never mind, it's actually 3% again. Side view mirrors, windshield wipers. There's all kinds of little things that must be decided by now as they're working on the assembly line. So just letting people's expectations and idea of what their pre-order is going to turn into, I don't think is going to take much time, because there must be a prototype that looks like the production model or something close to the production model, or at least a render that you could just throw in a shareholder deck and say, this is what it'll look like next year. Deliveries are early 2022 or mid 2022, whenever they are, just so people aren't going to fall in love. This is a concern I have with them driving the prototype in New York and Texas, is that people are going to fall in love with a specific look that might not look exactly the same as the production look. So getting people's expectations in check of, okay, this is what it looks like. Those are the mirrors, that's the wipers, that's how this works. This is a storage area, this isn't a storage area. Just so people are aware what it's going to look like, I think would put a lot of minds at rest and a lot of speculation to rest. Be like, okay, now we know. So there's
fear, you're being too logical about it. It makes so much sense, and because my fear is that why haven't you done it yet? Because there's none of that requires any prep work about something. If Elon can run his mouth on Twitter about memes and jokes and all this and poke fun at things this. This is something that can be a press release or something, something very, very quick. It could be done by the time we finish this segment of the episode, and it just makes too much sense.
Got updated again.
I 100% agree. That this is give people peace of mind. It's hey, for all these, they were, boasting about so many reservations and stuff like that. If you brag about it, okay, to our people who trusted us enough to give us, free money, because you're buying, it's money that you could probably get back, but hey, you just gave us so much money just on hype. Give them the peace of mind, at least rest their mind about here's what your $100 will get you now. Now that we're set on the design, here's where we're at with this, and if their fears people are going to withdraw their reservations, then rip the Band-Aid off, because whether it happens now or 4 months,
rather than later.
Don't wait until we're about to I think it'd be better PR to just do it now. Don't wait when you're 4 months 4 months from now. If you are within a quarter of a year out from ready to start doing all this stuff, like get the bad stuff out of the system now, because regardless,
If there's any compromises or
Yeah.
anything you're deciding to scrap, like, because
Let's
their
do it.
plans, we know how quickly their plans change,
Right.
And how quickly they're like, actually, we don't want to do this model, or actually, we can't make that feature work. So, you know, if they decide the single motor isn't going to work for them, I'd rather them take it off
say
now,
that now, right?
instead of like 2 weeks before deliveries begin. And be like, actually, all you single motor people,
you would be
you better
so
opt for the dual motor.
mad if you're like, 14 days out.
I mean,
I've been
was
waiting
me.
for 2 years now.
That was me 2 months before I got my Y, or 3 months before I got my Y. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
we're taking away the rear-wheel drive. All you have is all-wheel drive.
Mhm.
Either take it or wait a year until we maybe make it. In which,
Now we know it's well over a year and it's still not out.
well, they made the standard range, which was technically the rear-wheel drive, but
Oh,
it wasn't the long
but they didn't
range.
take money for the standard range. They took reservations for the long range rear wheel drive and then never made it.
No. Then they just told people to.
You want dual motor?
Yeah.
You want
I
to pay
think
us more
what you're
money.
trying to tell us is you want a dual motor. No, I know what I'm saying. No.
No, you don't.
No, you
So
don't.
what you're saying is
No,
you
no,
want
no.
more, you want to give us more money.
It's like what Mike always joked about. Tesla will say, our customers seem to really prefer dual motor vehicles because that's what all of our orders are.
How dare you?
That's all you make. You won't make any single motor. Oh, well.
Our customers seem to prefer a Tesla over the other guy. Oh.
I know Elon's word doesn't mean much, but we know there was at least a point where he wanted to have a Cybertruck update in Q2. So,
You want to have
That-
an update in 2020, and that didn't
yeah,
happen.
the very end of the year. Right.
Those who are expecting a Cybertruck update any second now, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't expect any second. I think they would wait for a shareholder deck publishing. So I'd say there's a chance of it being this month, but not likely. And then every month that goes by, it becomes slightly more likely. If not Q4, then Q1. If not Q1, then Q2. If not Q2, I'm really worried. Then I'll be actually like, okay, what's going on?
Okay, guys. No,
Because
I'm actually
Tesla-
really worried about Cybertruck.
Yeah.
So the
They
M1X
don't update their
MacBook
website.
Pro might be coming next Apple event.
Every one that it doesn't happen, the likelihood grows a little bit more until like a year later, and then I start to think it's not happening at all. But Tesla is not the type to update their, the Roadster webpage has basically remained unchanged since unveiling.
Yeah.
I'm checking now to see if they've changed it to say delivery is end of 2020. I think they just took that off. They didn't say when to expect delivery.
It's no longer the 2020 Roadster. It is just the Roadster.
It's just the Roadster. That's all. That's all we need to call it.
We ignore the original. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they don't even service that one. That one's dead to them. But they still accept reservations for the Founder Series.
Yeah.
They're still looking for
Not-
1,000 people, right? Was that 1,000 or?
Not. Yeah, it's 1,000. Not knowing if they've hit that or if they have hit it and they just haven't stopped accepting orders.
Right.
That would be bad. Just have a $250,000 loan for a few years. Thanks, Tesla. Good luck.
Good luck.
That's yeah.
Why are they like this, guys? They do dumb things like that.
Why are you like this?
Why are you like that? You're so beautiful, and you could be so perfect, and I believe your existence and your purpose, but why you be stupid?
I believe they believe in their claims.
Well,
I don't think they're.
Then they're surrounded
intentionally
by
lying.
yes men, and something needs to change a little bit because
Like Elon's a big no man.
They need someone who manages at least the website or the social media to just like update things. They basically told everyone at the Peterson Museum that the Roadster would do 0 to 60 in 1.1, but they never communicated that to the marketing department on the website because that still says 0 to 60 in 1.9. So Peterson knows, but no one at the website development knows.
Maybe it was just the
And-
Peterson guy who made it up.
No,
Jordan
Elon
Peterson?
confirmed
It was confirmed
after the fact.
that Tesla gave them those numbers or those facts.
Yeah, they
I guess.
didn't.
Okay.
That would be funny if Peterson did make it up, but yeah, they said they got that from Tesla. So that's just a weird way for them to maintain that. Like, oh, by the way, throw in this little piece of news for all the people at the museum. We're not going to announce that ourselves. We're just going to throw that on.
We'll let you do that
At the
for
last
us.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
They
Excuse me.
are focusing on the right things, but man, the things they're not focusing on, they really do not focus on.
Man, it is apparent. So
Do you
next
think
week, right?
Next week?
Next
For
week,
what?
2 weeks
Everything.
beta.
yeah. I mean, this is what they're focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that they are
I-
focusing on the beta. It's just ironing it out to where it is an actual product versus what Elon says is an actual product.
So, Mike, why not give the
Why?
people who pre-ordered it this non-product product and the actual product for people who want to do subscriptions? Why not then refine that, the one that they think is going to be the real money maker, and all us, suckers who paid full price have to wait for the product, but then why not give the same beta to the rest of the FSD owners that aren't subscribers, and when the subscription is ready, push that out. I agree with you. I think they are working on it. Like, I think that there's a genuine focus on it because of the pressure of people making such a huff about it, and then every time something negative happens, then it's like, oh, like there's a lot of extreme pressure, and I don't mean to discredit the stress that they're under in it, but at the same time, it's like you're confident enough to, push it out of back then. You're confident enough to give it to, Elon and everybody else inside it, and why not then give it to that same amount? I feel like are you not really trusting your software then? Like this is what's going through my mind. Like, is this just business fluff, or do you stand behind it? If you stand behind it, give it to the people who bought it in advance, and when people want to do subscriptions, when that's ready, the real one, there you go.
So I think of it like this, where currently right now there's a lot of iOS 15 or Monterey betas going out for a lot of people. People can access that. It may not be easy to get to for a lot of people, or at least it might not be apparent, but people can get to that. Now that tech isn't necessarily putting you in danger. You're not driving on the road with that. You're not potentially crashing into a barrier with it unless you're staring at your iOS 15 device while driving your Toyota Avalon.
you shouldn't do.
Some people, yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
I see a beta like that. It makes sense. But for something like FSD, it's a bit worrisome when I think many can agree with the statement that people are dumb in regards to not being responsible individuals when they're driving or anything else. I mean, what Drew was saying to me when he was, I think, driving here, that he was looking at some dude on the highway just staring at his Apple Watch while his Model S was driving him.
Aww.
Like,
Oh, that guy
Aw.
bugged the crap out of
Come
me
on,
because I was
dude.
watching what he was doing and what I was doing. For like a solid 5 minutes, he did not look at the road in front. He was just like,
What is
And no one
what
else was
is
in the
so
car.
interesting on his Apple Watch?
and he was just using
The
autopilot for
smallest
its
screen
future
possible.
intended purpose. It was just bothering me. But
yeah.
go ahead.
So that's where I see the issue in that there's a sort of integrity that people need to take, that they need to uphold, and that they need to practice. I mean, in some circumstances, I get into fault. I mean, I'm not looking at my phone while I'm driving while FSD is or the Navigate Autopilot's happening. But I do catch myself just looking at trees on the side of the road or looking at cars on the other side of the median, and then the car's like, "Hey, pay attention." I'm like, "Oh, that's right, I'm in a car," or at least I'm responsible for this car, and that if it runs into someone, it's my fault. And so, handing out this FSD beta to people are looking forward to it. Yeah, people paid money for it. Some people, or a lot of people, probably paid $10K for it, but I don't know. It's a really debatable question of if you pay $10K and they get in a crash, is Tesla liable? In the paperwork, I'd say no, but you can still generate a lot of bad press for it. And Tesla can't afford that. So that's why I'm more content with the fact that it's still taking forever. But I'm not happy when Elon goes on the record on Twitter saying, 1 week, 1 week. Just
Twitter's forever.
That I agree with.
Twitter is
be quiet. Just
don't go on the record and say that, because that now I agree. It's when you're making a declaration of sorts, even if it's on a unofficial forum like Twitter, and I mean you're the founder, you're the CEO, and you're the face of the company, and you are saying things you can't back up, pisses people off. And going back, it's one thing to say, well, we need to make, when there is a quality control issue of any kind, hardware or software, I understand. But when you just, in about 2 weeks, every time, it is aggravating. With the thing about people paying $10K and they're going to be stupid regardless, my thing is, so what changes between now and then? They're going to be stupid then as well then. And then they're going to have the same possible accidents or possible deaths, which is very unfortunate. But if people are going to be stupid and they throw their money at being stupid, if they are a grown person, nothing's changing between now and when it is a full release. There will be accidents.
As
that
Mr.
is unavoidable.
Forrest Gump says, as stupid is, as stupid does.
Yeah. We will see bad things come from this, not because of Tesla, but because of the drivers. Legally, liability, I don't see any issue with what's going to happen with Tesla, because we signed the thing saying that we agreed to adhere to the laws of the road. We're driving, vigilant, all of that. And the moment we start screwing around on your Apple Watch, you're at fault. You're a piece of crap that compromises everything around you, because the car does not substitute, especially at this stage and not anytime soon. The car does not substitute your license that you paid money for, that you are now a contributing person to society on the road and stuff like that. You are now putting your life and other people's lives at risk, regardless of how safe the vehicle is. If you're going to be stupid, you're going to be stupid then, just as you're going to be stupid now as you were stupid yesterday. And at that point, that's my frustration about, like, okay, PR, they'll rip the Band-Aid off then too the same way. It's like this is unavoidable. This is what happens when we enter a new realm of this sector that has to now do with autonomy. Like, oh, this is very interesting, because it'll be easy for us as the humans to want to put blame on the technology, because we're not valuable. The tech is. We're perfect. I am the hero of my own story.
My Tesla
cut me
just
off
drove
because I need to
itself
get
into
somewhere.
that store. I definitely didn't smash the accelerator.
Yeah, it's like, listen, I'm driving fast because I need to get somewhere. I'm the hero of my story. You're the bad guy, and that's what we do as as fallible creatures. We're not wrong. The tech is wrong. I got a notification real quick. I wasn't on my the people will straight up even lie, and that's always been around, and that's the risk we've always assumed when it comes to rules of the road. And all we can do is hold people accountable with a license. Okay, you put your life at danger. You're DUI, DWI. Now you have you can go up to felony charges. You can get your license revoked. You will be punished, and people will still drive. And then it's like, okay, well then now we're in the realm of law and justice and crime, and that's a whole different thing. But when it comes to the tech of vehicles, if it's kind of ready now, and some people have the beta, and Elon's like confident enough to be like, I'm ready to give you guys the beta, but we're working out some kinks. If it's not a software issue, which to my understanding, there's not that much of a software issue. The gentleman you had on, Drew, I forget his name already.
Dirty Tesla.
Chris. I think is like, there's no way. And then you try, it's like, oh, okay. Like that level of confidence of the beta to put it in the hands of consumers, I feel like it's there now, just because enough people are doing it right. It's just when people get reckless and careless and they think they can omit responsibility now. That's on the person.
I'd say
And I
you
don't-
have to make a delineation between what is a beta build and
Yeah.
what is a final product in this case then. Because if you're handing out beta builds and people are crashing, that doesn't look good on the software side or the production side on Tesla. If you're handing out complete software packages that are fully built and there's an issue, then an argument can be made because it's a fully built product. So it's not in regards to this is a in progress thing that people are using. Yeah, it might be in progress because that's how Tesla works, but at least it's a current version. Like, this is iOS 14.
Yeah.
You should be fine on this versus iOS 15 beta or something like that. So I would argue that it's dangerous to give people things called betas and then have accidents rather than give people things that are complete builds, quote unquote, I guess,
Yeah.
and then have accidents. So I think that's maybe...
I agree
think
with that.
That's where the line's drawn. at
I
least
I
in
agree
my
with
mind.
that. I think beta is a dangerous word when it comes to this, and being an early tester, an early flight of any kind, I think is dangerous. But I also don't agree that it should be called a beta in the sense that enhanced autopilot is what we've been operating in. So what's autopilot? Enhanced autopilot, FSD. FSD to me, the beta FSD that I have is enhanced autopilot. So don't call it a beta. And I think, like, verbiage is important, but I do agree that it should not be called a beta, or you should not be pushing out betas like that. Why? Then a question for really more for the companies: why do public betas then? In that sense, if we're collecting data, aren't they not already collecting the data regardless if we're running a beta of any kind of the software? Just every time we do a brake check and we jerk the wheel and everything and enhance autopilot, that data is recorded and sent back to Tesla.
Or even
So-
a bug report either. I do those all the time.
all the time. I mean, that has nothing to do with the beta necessarily, but they are collecting the same data to get just better the overall vehicle and the software. So maybe don't have public betas then if they're not ready at all. But then also stop calling the FSD I have FSD when it's autopilot.
I think it's a difficult line to draw because similar to iOS, the reason we have a 14 and a 15 is because it's never done.
Yeah.
The software package is never complete. So I think it's going to be the same thing with FSD. It's never like, okay, we did it, it's all done. And let's
Not
step away from
another
the keyboards.
update ever again.
Never an update again. There's
Windows
always
11.
going to be a
I mean,
Windows 11.
Some would say
or
we've gotten closer to that point with iPad OS 15. It's just too perfect.
Oh, jeez.
No, that's
We'll
backwards,
save
Nick.
that
You're
for
going
another
backwards.
time. But FSD will never be done. There will always be a V10, V11, or
Sure.
another update. So Tesla has to decide when it's safe enough or foolproof enough, which is, I think, the transition they're in right now, is that they have a trusted number of beta testers, somewhere around 2,000 people, that they feel confident enough in giving beta software, whatever you want to call it, because they think they won't use it with malintent. And Tesla has about 3 different types of customers to offer FSD to, which is one, like the enthusiasts like us that would instantly press the beta button as soon as it was available. We want to try it out. We're willing to accept the risks and the liability, and we know it's not perfect, but we just want to see it work in our own eyes.
Sure.
We just want to see it happen. The middle tier is probably the most common one, like the general consumer that's not looking to mess around. They don't use Smart Summon all the time. They drive the car to work, but they don't really watch EV videos or EV podcasts. They're just using it in their daily life, probably the way it's intended. They probably use autopilot and enhanced autopilot on occasion, but the party trick features not so much, and it's just a car for them. And the third category is probably the one they're most worried about, which is people with malintent,
TikTokers.
people that are trying... TikTokers, yeah. All of the audience is on TikTok. The guy who got arrested and then got in the back of the Tesla, bought another Tesla, bought FSD, and did the whole thing over again, where he's like, see, I'm not driving. That category is what Tesla is worried about, because
Yeah.
I don't think if they did launch the beta button and made it an opt-in thing, so not everybody had to live with it if they didn't want to, and you can put it behind as much fine print as you want. You have to open the Tesla menu, you have to tap this 10 times, and then you have to click okay, like all this disclaimers.
Yeah.
I don't think average consumers would go through the work to do that. They would hear about it in the news and they'd be like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I'll wait a little while to use it. Or basically someone like Mike's wife, Carrie, who doesn't really want to use autopilot much now anyway. And Tesla's not worried about them. And they're probably not even worried about people like us that would probably document the beta and use it and watch over it and make sure it doesn't do anything dangerous. But it's just that third category that they're trying to make it foolproof enough so that even the malintended audience and the customers that are trying to trick it and trying to cause problems so they can get on the news and short the stock or whatever, they're trying to make the software so good so that even they can't abuse it. And there will always be probably to a certain extent a way to abuse anything. You know, you can throw a brick on an accelerator of any car and get out and be like, see, it's broken. But Tesla's going to do their best to make sure that the possibilities of tricking it or crashing it become so low that it's comfortable to launch for everybody, to the point where it could be a subscription or a feature that you could actually consider out of beta or production ready, so that even people not like us, not enthusiasts, or not watching over the vehicle could use it.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy line to draw, because there's always going to be a certain level of safety that you take a risk of when you say, okay, now you don't have to drive here, now you don't have to maintain a roundabout or something. And that's just a game they're playing with themselves right now. It's like, how much risk can we
What's their
afford?
risk appetite?
Right.
What's their risk appetite? And right now it's, I think, pretty low. And there's been a ton of development in autonomy, but the main reason I doubt robotaxis are around the corner is there's been no progress in liability. That has changed
Yeah.
none since autopilot, I think, first came out way back in, when was it? 2015?
16? 15?
Somewhere around there.
I think somewhere around there.
Yeah.
They
16?
basically have not strayed from the same, you're responsible, you're liable for whatever the car does, even with these driver assist features. And because of that, I'm like, yeah, we have such a long way to go before level 3 even. I hope level 3 can be achieved in the next year or two, but with how slow and how low their risk appetite is, that's a good word, Nick. Thank you.
I actually didn't make that up, but I'll pretend that I did.
You didn't?
No, it's a business term. So,
okay.
That's how us
Well,
accountants.
thanks for bringing
that's
it
how
up.
us accountants manage separation of duties. We're like, what's the risk appetite
Gotcha.
of the business?
I'm full.
And they're all accountants, so it's nothing. They eat vegetables, and I'm like,
Yeah,
dang it,
I've
have
never
some
heard
cake
that.
once in a while.
Oh my God.
I've never heard that.
Enjoy some
That's
risk.
a useful
funny.
Enjoy
expression.
some
You
You have
risk.
some cake.
But
Go base
that
jumping.
appetite's so low that I don't see level 3 or 4 being achieved soon, because they're, like we talked about before, the first beta rolled out in November, and we're in July now, and it still hasn't expanded past that first couple thousand.
Yeah.
So they're really taking their time and taking this slow.
It's the longest 2 weeks. I thought 2020 was a long year. Since November's been the longest 2 weeks ever.
So at the same time, I totally get it. I just think that the way they talk about it and market it, like Autonomy Day is just going to be such an awkward, cringy chapter in Tesla's history for anyone going back and watching that keynote. I'm saying feature complete by the end of 19, robotaxis by the end of 2020. You know, that's just going to age so bad. And I think about all these tweets he's making and how poorly they're going to age, and it's not seeming to improve. I just wish they could be a bit more self-aware. Like, to me, it feels like Tesla is very forward-thinking, but almost to a fault, to the point that they don't realize how many promises they've made over the past 3 or 4 years and how poorly that has looked, especially when you had 3-year leases on vehicles that you sold FSD on, and those customers never got that product, despite saying it would be ready in 2 years or 3 years.
Upset.
You paid for that whole package,
That-
and then you had to trade the car back in.
Wow.
Like, that happened to people. So
Wow.
there's nothing, in my opinion, wrong with just selling an expensive software package that you are over time trying to make better, and your goal is level 5. Like, I don't have an issue with that. If you want to sell features behind a paywall, I'm not even bothered by the activate rear heated seats or that kind of thing, or shipping hardware that's deactivated, because that allows them to sell at a certain price, and then they can make their money back with certain unlockable profit margins. Like, that's all fine for me. It's just acting like it's basically done or almost done year after year after year after year, and that people are going to factor that into their buying decision.
Yeah.
And it comes across as way too scammy. And it's the probably most sour patch of Tesla. I'm not a huge fan of out of it. Everything I love about Tesla, and I still think they're the best automaker, and I still think they make the best cars, but that's just something that could be navigated way better. I still don't like the name Full Self-Driving. I'd be totally in favor of changing the name to Autopilot, and then you pay for Autopilot Plus or Autopilot Pro or Enhanced Autopilot, whatever you want to call it. Don't call it Full Self-Driving and be selling that Full Self-Driving package for 4 years. That still doesn't do
Imagine
full
getting a
self-driving.
lease with an. Gosh,
People did that.
that hurts. That hurts.
It's probably still happening.
I forgot
That
about
hurts.
that. I'll be honest, and that hurts my
It
heart.
started in, I think they started using that name in 2017 or 16.
Dude, that is.
It's just
I think 2016 because Model 3 started shipping in 16.
end of 17.
Into 17.
Okay, then it's 17 because I remember the correlation of every Model 3 as FSD compatible.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it correlates with the Model 3. That's how I remember it. So, man, that hurts my heart, man. I'm not going to lie. That's sad.
Yep.
Although I'm glad so far Tesla Vision seems to be pretty reliable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen those videos?
I have.
It seems like they removed radar in a responsible way as far as I can see. I mean, I was really nervous it was going to be one of those Plaid Plus or Standard Range Model Y moments where they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wait a minute. We shouldn't have done that."
Oops.
Whoops.
Yeah.
But so far so good. Seems safe. Seems like they've been testing it a lot and people have been happy with it, and they removed a part. The price didn't go down, but they removed a part.
Price went up.
And
I love it when that
hopefully
happens.
hopefully that lets them build them faster,
Yeah.
if in some way, shape, or form. And I've just now in hindsight, I'm like, why have we had radar for so long? Feels like it wasn't doing anything.
Why? Why? Well, yeah. Oh, bye, Nick. All right. Closing thoughts, gentlemen.
I'm worried about the snake charger.
Yeah. I want more Snake Charger updates. When are we getting that, Elon?
That's been
Things that really
canned
matter.
for too long. It needs to come back.
I want the Snake Charger even without autonomy, without level 5.
Sure.
Like, that would be great, even if your car didn't have autopilot, just if you could
Yeah,
plug
that's
in
convenient.
without getting out.
That's amazing.
That's just a great...
yeah. If people in Oregon, Jersey,
The Snake Charger will be banned in Oregon because a person can't plug in the charger.
that's right.
That's a job. It's taking away jobs.
Yeah, snake charger needs to come out.
Nick, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yes, I do actually. Starlink, hurry up! Oh my gosh, Elon.
It wasn't me.
I don't know what the
wasn't me
deal
this
is.
time.
Wasn't
I'm
me either.
Starlinking.
Successfully,
Or
Drew
Mike.
is now on a reliable internet. I'm so proud of this moment.
Starlink is ready, FYI.
It
everybody.
is. It
Like,
is. It is. I am ready. Yesterday was the first day that I could have gotten it by the window that they gave me. They said mid to late 2020, and yesterday was the midpoint of 2021. Sorry,
It's the
sorry.
same
What
window
year are we
as-
in? Yeah,
It's the same window as Lucid Deliveries.
Hey,
Oh my God.
I somehow have more confidence that I'll get Starlink sooner than Lucid. So
That's a good bet. Mike, do you think you'll get Starlink before Lucid Deliveries?
That's
no, before
a
you
great
get a
question.
Lucid.
Oh, before I get a Lucid. Well, I have at least 3 reserved at this point. I've got the Dream Edition. I've got the
And they're all a different configuration.
Grand Touring. I've also got the Pure or whatever. Nah, I don't. That's a really great question. I don't know. I am very.
You think they'll be neck and neck?
We talked about this, or it may be. Mine got pushed back, so I think Nick still says mid to
Yep.
mid to late 2021. Mine just says late 2021, which is really strange
Aw.
since me and Drew are within driving
We're
distance.
not that far apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
So-
I wonder if it's just they see that you're in the Bay Area, so they're like, he's fine.
He's got Google.
He
He
doesn't
can
need
get good
Starlink.
internet. Yeah.
He has fiber. We're not going to prioritize
because
Bay
everyone
Area
in the
people.
Bay Area has fiber to their doorstep.
Pretty close
That's-
in some areas. Yeah. So
They underestimate how many people are willing to sacrifice their internet performance just so they can have Starlink.
I got no clue. I got no clue.
Like me.
You know, yeah, sure. I'm willing to bet $10 that Lucid Air comes out before I get
Before?
Starlink.
Oh, before you get
Okay.
Starlink. Okay, that's fair. The Bay Area's not getting Starlink for years, but
I'm not willing to bet money. Could
No,
we
but-
bet food?
Here's the problem: the Bay Area does have Starlink.
it
Like,
true.
Oh,
if
it
you
does.
live in Oakland or San Francisco, I think you're in the range. Or
I think everyone's in range now. It's just a matter of bandwidth
okay,
and
the beta range.
dishy.
How about that? San Francisco and Oakland are in beta range that was originally drawn for some random boundary. But yeah, the
So,
actual range it is
with
now.
the ground station build out that we're looking at, all of the U.S. has access to ground stations, and almost all of the Europe and Asia also have ground station access. But what we're waiting on right now is the capacity of those. So once they finish up their beta testing period, they're putting the final kinks in the software to rest. And as soon as they
2 weeks.
as soon as they
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, as soon as they start rolling out the I'll probably be in the first wave of normal people to get it, I'd imagine. We'll see, just based on my latitude and how early I signed up for it, but we'll see. I don't know.
This is why I didn't want to cancel, is because I have a feeling Starlink, similar to the Cybertruck, is going to be all about first come, first serve, and there's just going to be a tremendous wait list of people that want it but can't get it because they're limited by how many users they can have at once. So that's what's slowing the rollout. I don't think it's the coverage problem or the actual satellites. It's like how fast can they make Dishy McFlatface, and
How cheap can they
many
make Dishy
people they can
McFlat?
have.
Dishy McFlatface costs like $1,500, and they're selling it for $500, so they're not making money.
I wanted to go hug mine once I read that. They said in some report, they were like, actually, when we first started making Dishy McFlatface, it was like 3,000, and I was like, I didn't know that. I was like,
Drew's like,
I
let
want
me
to go
put a
outside and
cover
just
on it, put a tent.
let me clean you. Oh my goodness. I want to like put a wall around it. I didn't realize I had a $3,000 thing on my roof. I
Up
was like,
there, get a foot warmer for it.
yeah.
Can I get
Just spend time with it.
Get
in the
some
morning.
Tesla tequila for it.
It's very dirty. For some reason, it collects a lot of dirt underneath it. I don't know why, but
Must be all the rain.
Dirty spot.
a black one would look cool.
Ooh, that
Can you
heat up
imagine a
so
black-
fast. Oh my gosh, it would literally burn up.
Oh, yeah.
It'd catch on
It
fire.
already gets hot, and I was worried about it because. But I did a live stream and it was like 108 outside, and it was really stable. It worked really well. Good job, SpaceX.
Yes, good job.
SpaceX is staying true to their words better than Tesla right now.
Ooh.
By
They
the
literally-
same
and they literally
guy,
put
too.
tanks-
By the same guy.
And they literally
Different CEO.
different.
So that's Elon needs to step down from Tesla? Is that what it takes?
Maybe.
I will vote him off.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a hot take right now. I'm not saying
the power.
You have
vote.
one small piece of
that's
the
a
power.
real hot take.
Randy,
I
say,
want Elon to be chief of engineering, and I want him involved at both companies.
Yeah.
But does he need to be CEO?
No.
I don't know.
Hey,
That might be up for debate.
Apple has been doing better after the founder stepped down and subsequently passed away. But under
Step down.
stepped down and then passed away. Apple has never been healthier, more collaborative. Apple is a stronger company for it.
Who will be Tesla's Tim Cook?
Apple, Tesla needs
Jeff
no,
Bezos.
Franz is the
He's stepping down. He's stepping down as Amazon CEO, but he'll become Tesla's CEO.
Oh no!
Hey, I mean, we can't say Amazon's unsuccessful, right?
This is true. Okay, yeah.
Oh
true.
wow.
They get Tory Bruno. That's who they get.
Oh no!
Oh no. Let's not talk about that.
And then the
here.
government will just bail out Tesla all the time. Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
sounds good.
On that
Bruno.
note. See
See you
everyone.
next week. Hopefully, Model S deliveries have begun by then. Just kidding.
Just
Bye.
kidding.
Take
Peace.
care. Bye bye.